Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game, ready to bring you the next, week 2 action that we're doing here. Listen, week 1 would have been a lot more fun if the Jags had a win for you, Duval Devout out there. I get it. I understand it. And Travis and I will take you through just a little bit of that. To wrap that a little bit, kind of clear up some of the crazy issues being talked about, some of the knee-jerk reactions that need a cast put on them so people don't be breaking knees and stuff. Let's walk right and realize that week 2 is coming and 1-1 is just as healthy. Hey, some of us on this panel said the Jags could win 10 games even after losing week 1. I say us on this panel, noticing that I'm the only one currently in the room right now. Anyways, how about we fix at least the part that I'm the only one in the room? Let's go ahead and bring in my personal champion, my man from Big Cat Country, Travis D. Holmes. I missed the button there. It made me.
I was about to say, I thought you were about to call me Charlie Murphy. Let's go.
Charlie Murphy!
That's a late grade.
Yeah, speaking of that, while we're talking to Rip, shouts to James Earl Jones as well, right? We got to get that in there.
Yes, Mufasa, Darth Vader.
Yes. Your analysis rules everything the light touches. I need you to know that, Travis D. Holmes.
Appreciate it.
You can tell he was touched. That was anyway. So let's get right into it, man. I mean, we talked about it a lot. In an instant reaction. You were out on the limb picking the Jags to win. Let's be honest, you should have looked really smart. We all know by now about the 14-point swing. I maintain, though, that while that was a turning point in the game, even for people that don't believe in momentum, I still feel like the game was superiorly winnable for the Jags if they had wrapped up, right? Because defensively, I feel like they did an awesome job in this game. Offensively, for the most part, till the end of the game, when they started getting arguably predictable, not conservative, predictable. There's a difference. And we'll address that as we go here, of course, because I know a lot of people will be like, what are you talking about? You took the ball in the hands of the guy we paid $275 million to. Nobody wants to talk about keeping $387 million off the field for the Dolphins, though. I talk more about that, by the way, on the Fansford Sports Network here. Bing! Anyways. See, I write articles too, Travis. You think you're the only writer in here. Talk a bit about what you think worked for the defense, because listen, objectively speaking, even if you allow the field goal that the Dolphins missed, 23 points against what I think it's hard to argue is 2023's most explosive offense in the NFL.
Yes.
MVP candidate Tyreek Hill. I said that last year. I think it'll be true this year if he stays healthy. Evaluate the defense. That's how I'll work.
Well, the defense they did much better than I mean, we text back and forth during the game live, and they did much better than I originally thought they were going to do. Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure I give them all the flowers that is deserved for that coaching staff, for those players. They did what they were supposed to do on the vast majority of those plays. If you take away maybe 5 to 6 plays outside of the whole game, like that is an incredible experience. It is an incredible performance by the defense. But those other 6 plays did happen. And as I put on my post-game write-up, as I put on my 20 takeaways from the rewatch of the game on Monday at bigcatcountry.com, you want to give them the flowers for the things that they did right. You want to kind of analyze what they didn't do as well. And you kind of want to acknowledge at least that this offensive scheme, this scheme of fast finesse players, they're not really physical, kind of work to the Jaguars' strength as far as how their defense is made up. And just know that NFL is a week-by-week league. You could beat a team that you should have, that you can beat a team that you probably should have struggled against, and then lose against a team that you probably should dominate because it's simply different types of matchups, different types of schemes.
Or hell, half by half. Am I right?
I mean, at this point, it kind of is half by half. Someone last night, I was on the Jaguars United podcast. We did an all 22 rewatch of the Miami Dolphins Jaguars game. And yeah, we kind of came to the same conclusion of, wow, there was a lot more ugly from the Jaguars defense that we originally didn't see from the regular television copy. And some of those things were just being very fortunate that the Dolphins didn't capitalize because they didn't either overthrown passes, didn't throw it to the right receiver, a few different things along those lines. So I want to be fair in saying, yes, the Jaguars defense did do great, but also the Jaguars defense may not have been necessarily as good as it looked because some ways the Miami Dolphins offense was off kilter.
Well, and let me address, you mentioned being off kilter. Let me address some things. Like, we are not giving, in my opinion, the front four enough credit for Tua being off kilter, as you say. There was a few misses that he had, and the reason why, excuse me, the reason why it didn't work is this was a game where the secondary had to have breakfast. All right, you had to shut down the early plays because Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are so fast. It's not really dinner; it's more lunch. I get you. But this had to be a breakfast secondary, right? You had to take care of the short stuff. You had to be careful that things would turn from small plays into big plays. That's why the screens were a problem, right? For example, they were able to turn small plays into big plays. Achane obviously could be argued. I don't want to say as the biggest problem, but we're an element that kept that group moving, no doubt. But again, you expect Waddle and you expect Tyreek to get something long, which they both did. Like this again. May I remind everybody, most explosive offense in the league, right? So the fact that some throws were missed had to be on pressure. I feel like Ryan Nielsen did that. And, credit to Trayvon Walker for taking the advantage and getting his 2 sacks in. Eric Armstead opening his career with a new team with a sack, unfortunately, just like Calais Campbell did.
Well, also Eric Armstead, he interviewed with Demetrius Harvey at Jacksonville.com earlier today, and then kind of let him know that he was on a snap count against the Dolphins, so he only had about 30 snaps in the game, and also he's advised that his sack wasn't even supposed to happen because he was supposed to be running a game with Will Robertson-Harris, and just heard the offensive lineman say something with an L word, kind of knowing that he'd have one-on-one blocking scheme, and just kind of made a play. So it's going to be interesting now this upcoming week.
That's what 10 year vets do, man. That's why he's there.
Right. So it's going to to be interesting to see him when his snaps.
He does not make that play, and it's not his fault.
That's fair. Anyway. But no, it's going to be real interesting seeing his snaps, increase, because again, the 71 snaps against the Dolphins, that's how many snaps the Dolphins offense had. Again, he only played in 30 snaps. What is it going to look like when Eric actually gets the full snap share? Maybe not 100%, but maybe closer to 80-90%, something like that. It could simply transform this Jaguars defensive front.
And I think, by the way, I know that they don't count as full sacks, but if we're going to give props to people for drawing defensive pass interference on offense, we also need to give credit for drawing holding calls on defense. How many times were the Fins pulled back by holding calls because they could not handle that front? Again, me giving flowers to the fatties. That's what I do, Travis.
I believe it was 3 overall holding penalties, but I know Mason Smith specifically got 2 of them. So he didn't show up on the stat sheet at all as far as tackles and as far as pressures, things of that nature. But he had 2 holding calls that changed multiple series for the Dolphins offense. So he does get credit for that, in my book at least.
Yeah, tell him who it is. You know ball, Travis. Tell him who it is.
I mean, yeah. I think I do, but sometimes people tell me I don't. You know what? I'm gonna just keep shooting.
Those are Titans fans. Anyway,
there's a reason you go to the gym. All right, man. But yeah. So overall, the Jaguars defense, while it wasn't perfect, and no defense defense are rarely going to ever be perfect, they were solid. They were a breath of fresh air when unexpected on my part. Again, I did not want to establish that they were good until at least halftime. I said the same thing to you live. Hey man, I'm not ready to say that they're good, but I think are they good? And I do believe that they were good, but they still did have some explosive plays that they gave up. And it wasn't because the Miami Dolphins were so fast and so explosive and they out-schemed them. Honestly, it was a few plays where the Jaguars secondary they just didn't do the things that I am 100% sure that they're taught. They didn't do a spin turn here for Andre Cisco instead of just you didn't get your eyes in the right place when the play came, when they ran a backside post because you're looking at the wrong receiver after you have no other threats in your zone. It was a few plays like that I will acknowledge could be chalked up to either coaching or the players just not being where they should be after a whole offseason of coaching. And to Doug's point, I know people hate when that happens, but hey, man, this is a room full of grown men talking to other grown men, and we got to be able to have some real conversations and say, hey, man, that got to be better. But also, I have to be better, and that's the part that I think fans wanted to hear from Doug. With his comments earlier this week, they wanted to hear him say something like, "I need to be better on offense," and also, this other thing should have been better as far as the defense explosive plays.
Right. And I know there are elements out there where people were saying that he made a remark in response to some defensive criticism by saying it's coaching. People are all like, oh, that's him throwing Ryan Neeson under the bus. Listen, for anybody who's been listening to Doug in pressers, which I have been for an extended period of time, Travis has been for an extended period of time, know for a fact that is Doug's version of taking that responsibility that you're talking. By the way, shouts to Mike Clinton there, our former partner in pickup football there. That's good to see.
Let's go.
But listen, here's the thing. I think Doug acknowledges that, and to reiterate, because we haven't yet on this episode, it has to be said out loud in all of this.
Okay.
First live game with the new scheme. Right, that's got to be at least a small factor, but they've had an entire preseason. It ain't the same when the bullets are flying, and it's the most explosive offense in football. It's just not. And Mike McDaniel's a weird coach. You're going to see some stuff that you don't see before. You're going to be uniquely challenged. Okay, this ain't like going against Doug Eberflus, as you will at some point. Okay, some defensive guy who's praying for a kid to bail him out, and a different kid bailed him out. Is all. Shouts to the mayonnaise Messiah. In honor of Dob. But
no, but I don't want to make this all about that, because I know we want to get to some Cleveland Browns conversation. But also, I wanted just to comment that there was one line in Doug's presser where he stated, and I couldn't. It was just crawling up me right here when he says the comment. That's the play that they've been running all game, and I'm like, and he's not wrong, because we talked about it last night on Jaguars United when looking at the all 22. They ran it probably like 5 times overall, and they missed on one of the the corner route, which they also then later hit when they hit the corner route against Ronald Darby for the 20-yard gain with Jalen Waddle. It was the same route concept that they basically missed with Tyreek Hill earlier in the game. Like, they wrote that down, saying that they were going to go back to it. Same thing with the post route for the 80-yard touchdown. Like, they ran that route. Those route combinations, basically the same 2 or 3 routes over and over, and it had 6 completions on screens, and that was almost half of their offense, just those 3 concepts. So it was one of those, maybe he just had this whole issue with Mike Caldwell last season, a whole defensive staff where they weren't correcting stuff during the games, and now he has a first game with a new coach where the other team seems to be having success on basically 3 concepts. And hey, man, are we going to correct this? Are we going to correct this? Are we going to correct this? Game's over, and it was corrected. Like, I can understand. Maybe Doug truly was calling him out, and I don't want to say he was or wasn't. I'm just saying maybe he says, I don't normally do this, but 10 toes down, I'm about to do this. Maybe that could be it. Like, I don't know.
I mean, at some point last year, he did say that corrections need to be made during the game rather than in the film room, when the L's already on the board. And there's something to be said for that.
But he said that after the season. He never said it live in the season. We never knew what the problems were in the season. He only said it after it was done.
Right. And yeah, you can't say that during the season, because I mean, this group, you and I, everybody, the media here, covering the Duval, Duval and the Jaguars and all that, would certainly call it out. But let's go ahead and move to this too, with the offense. We tried to tell everybody out there that they were going to be playing for the ground and to keep the Finns off the field, and inevitably them staying on the field at the end, or rather I should say that the Jaguars' inability to stay on the field was what really decided the game late.
Right. Jaguars' third downs cost them on the defensive end also.
I mean, we already have a short talking about it on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to that, by the way, of me having one of my moments where I don't like calling out play calling, but there was play calls that I didn't enjoy. But I really think, people may fight me on this, but I really think the concept of what they were attempting to do was good. I just I just didn't like Bigsby versus Campbell. I mean, so to go and say, "Oh, you were so conservative," then really, if they're that conservative in the football game, Travis, how did they pull that 53-yard field goal with so little time left in that second quarter out of their keister?
Well, it's not conservative. It's not conservative in the second half. It's conservative after the fumble specifically.
Okay.
To be clear, it's not conservative in the whole half. It's conservative from 2 minutes and whatever it was, 15 seconds left at the end of the third quarter. So that's when the conversation becomes interesting.
Final 17 minutes is what we're getting at.
That's it. That's where the conversation is. The meat and potatoes of the conversation truly is. And I think it's a worthwhile conversation, but I understand why. Like, I understand why everything happened. To your point, we talked about it on the post game Duval dive. Again, check out the YouTube channel. It was just this past Sunday. It's the episode before this one. We talked about it in pretty great detail. But
and by the way, there'll be another one this week too. So look out for that Duval dive live week 2 on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Live from Everbank Stadium.
The bank. That's right. He's going to be in there. Yeah, but I mean, here's the thing. I didn't dislike it. Again, it's just to get putting Calais Campbell versus Tank Bigsby that didn't do it for me personally.
No, I understand. But again, that was not great, but it doesn't even happen because I've heard no one give Brandon Scherf smoke on that play because I don't think it's been. I haven't seen it on the socials. I haven't seen anyone like put the replay up, just the replay up, the play up. I haven't done it just because I haven't had the time, but I watched it twice. Scherf gets way too high in his blocking scheme on that play.
Yes.
This is the play with the Tank Bigsby at fullback, essentially.
Yeah,
third and 1, and he's basically standing straight up.
Yep.
Gets knocked back 2 yards, and the hole is wide as a truck where you got Calais just comes through, and that's the ball game for a guy who only needs 1 yard.
I kind of figured the interior line struggling was implied after not only the keys to the South Beach shootout article that I wrote at Fans for Sports Network, but we also talked about it on the dive as well last week too. So yeah, for me, if you're wondering why there's no smoke, I mean, it's because I drove through it already in my car. You know, we established this. It's out there. You know. Anyways, but enough about reliving that. Let's go ahead and get to it. Travis, I can't think of a better scenario for the Jags to get a win back than the Cleveland Browns coming to Everbank Stadium, right? You don't want to just be some garbage team where the Duval devout will just say, it was the so-and-sos. It doesn't matter. The Browns defense has a little teeth, okay? But no Nick Chubb, no David Njoku, Deshaun Watson's back on the field, much to the chagrin of Browns fans, we're coming to find out, right? Really, it's about Myles Garrett and Quentin Richardson and beating them offensively. Keep the turnovers down and let Josh Hines Allen and Trayvon Walker and Eric Armstead or whoever's in the middle pin their ears back and make it a rough day for Deshaun. Is it really any simpler than that?
I don't see another. I mean, that's really it. Like, I have less concern about whether the Cleveland Browns offense is going to have success against this defense, and more concerned about whether or not our offense is going to be able to score points, a la the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game from 2023, when you end up seeing the Jaguars offense struggle so bad that it doesn't matter how good the defense looks, and they look solid for most of the game.
By the way,
and then all of a sudden,
Trevor healthy this time. That's worth mentioning.
Right. And then the final score ends up looking like a blowout because the Jaguars offense simply can't move the ball and the defense tires out. Like, that's the only scenario where I see Cleveland winning is when the Jaguars offense simply can't do anything against that defensive front. So this game will then come down to the front and the front. The defensive line for the Jaguars versus the offensive line for the Cleveland. Will they be able to stop this Jerome Ford-led running game for the Browns? Because this is a different scheme. This isn't like the Miami Dolphins. These are different monsters. Like, they do this way differently. They both, quote unquote, run the ball, but they ain't running the ball the same. You got one.
Yeah, you're right.
You got the Dolphins, who are a finesse team, who are going to try to use speed and try to run you horizontally sideline to sideline. And you got the Cleveland Browns, who are going to punch you in the mouth and try to run right at you, where you're not going to be able to run around blocks. You're going to have to run through guys and shed and get in, and get into the holes. This is different. So
Right.
I'm curious about what that's going to look like.
See, here's the other thing I didn't mention yet. The Browns somehow, and trust me, it's an anomaly, the likes of which I find fascinating and comical and also tragic, because Joe Thomas played for a garbage team and is a Hall of Famer for a reason. What a fantastic human being specimen to play offensive line that man is, and never got rewarded for it properly. Okay. Who was the best quarterback that he played for? It might have been Baker Mayfield. Oh my God. Seriously?
And that version of Baker Mayfield, right? Not the current version of not new Baker with the makeover. Mayfield. Yes.
Exactly. Injured and swagomatic Baker Mayfield is what I'll call him, right?
How Baker got his groove back and got a makeover and got extensions and everything else, and now he's balling. Yeah, this is a different Baker.
Are you trying to say that Todd Bowles gave him a makeover? Is that what? Anyways, but getting back to the Browns with the offensive line, that history of prowess they've had in the trenches, despite having the likes of Deshaun Kaiser at quarterback and things like that going on. Okay. Now the offensive line, that tradition has reduced a bit. Not only are they not quite as talented, they're also less healthy on top of that. It's going to be a big day for that front. And even if should they slow the front three, I think Foye Oluokun's going to get another butt ton of tackles. I mean, not that that's a full prediction, but I really think this Browns team, I'm going to set the over-under for turnovers by the Browns at 2.5, and I'm taking the over.
Right. So again, my prediction was that the Jaguars were going to win this game. But if we're talking about what areas where I think that there could be even potential chinks in the armor, potential chinks in the game plan, all right, it's going to come down to that Browns secondary. They're good. We know that they're good, and we know they're going to be aggressive. But the Jaguars often should have experience playing against a secondary like that. I think they might practice against them.
You got receivers that can beat Jalen Ramsey down the field. I think you're going to do all right.
Right. But then they also have a very solid defensive line that may not give you very much time. Like if you're talking about that side of the ball, like again, the Jaguars offense will have a challenge. The Jaguars offensive line will have a challenge, and that's a challenge in and of itself. But then if you're talking about the Jaguars defensive line versus, like, we have not seen that just yet. We have not been able to confirm that they're going to be able to stop the run just yet against a power football team, because the only time we've seen it was the first 2 drives against Kansas City in the preseason, and they didn't look very good at doing it. So I think it's a fair conversation to say, hey, is Devon Hamilton truly back? Because even against Miami, he didn't look very good. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade.
Not great, love.
Yeah. So there's Devon Hamilton back. Maybe they have Justin, Good and Jordan Jefferson active this week as that additional guy, because this is going to be a different type of team that's not trying to run you out of the gym, and they're instead trying to run at you. But are they going to be able to slow down that run game again? This is just another checkbox to say, are they truly different than they were last year? And I just want to see it to be sure.
That's a fantastic take. But hey, if you're gonna need a tune-up game to test if you could take a hard-nosed team on, this is it. Okay,
that's fair. Yes.
Can't control the line of scrimmage here, Travis, I expect to see you on Twitter going, I tried to tell you, Humpy Bumpers, I can't stop the run.
Right. This is very fair. This is an incomplete Cleveland Browns team, but they are good in these certain spots that you want to see whether or not the Jaguars are truly different, the different that we claim to be all offseason.
Right. And listen, I'm talking to you now. Listen, Jaguars coaching staff on defense. Look at me, okay? You need to do this and take care of this in the run game at the very least, because I don't want to see Travis's therapy bill when he starts having nightmares about the game in November against Detroit if this doesn't go well. That's all I'm saying.
Therapy bills, bro. You already know what shirt I got. This team makes me drink. I don't need no therapy. Give me $10 give me $10 in a night. I'm good.
I just don't want you to have to self-medicate that much. I mean, I know it's near Thanksgiving already. Okay, responsibly, Travis. That's what we're
Hey man, I'm responsible. Let me knock out and wake up at 4:00 in the morning trying to figure out what the heck just happened. It's fine.
The kids are still asleep. It's good. You know.
Right, we good. Come on, man.
Oh, that's a
So
good time, man. But I mean, beyond that,
how no, so give it to me. Give it to me. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling this is going to land? How is this plane going to land on Sunday?
yeah, well, listen, on this one, if we're setting the point total I had last week, which I think was 65, take the under on this one. Okay? I know, right? The bar is nice and high. Literally, you just crawl under that humpy bumpy. Easiest game of limbo ever. For me, listen, I'm relatively confident defensively. Me, there's a reason Trevor threw 3 picks against the Browns last year in this game against the Browns. And those 2 pieces are still operating. I mentioned them earlier in Garrett and Richardson, right? Also, you reiterate the secondary is of great talent. I agree there too. That's the part that's tricky. I would also set the over under for 2.5 for Jags turnovers and say under, but they may still get 2, and that's the problem. You know, it's who's going to give up points off of mistakes that really sets this up. The defenses need to be able to recover in bad field position, and don't be surprised if Cam Little isn't the hero in this one. I'm going to drop my score first on this one. I have an ugly game. I'm going to go 21-13 Jags.
21-13. So that's absolutely under 41 and a half.
Holmes.
I know. Well, I was trying to figure out what the over under was at the same time. So I'm trying to guesstimate what you were going to say. But
it'll change by the time the thing comes up. It's only Wednesday, you know.
But yeah, it's the over under is 41 and a half so
but
far.
I got 33 total points. Take the under.
You got 33. And again, I said take the over last week, and then we ended up taking and everybody named Mama said take the over last week, and then it ended up being absolute, easy under. And I'm going to say I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. Take the over. I'm taking the over. I'm going to be a contrarian just because I do feel like this defense will have a day. All they have to do is show me that they can stop the run, and I have zero confidence in Deshaun Watson. I think they're going to get like 5-6 sacks, a lot like Dallas did last week. And if that happens, I think the Jaguars offense can then truly just start playing the game that they wanted to play. They started playing last week as far as play action, as far as trying to establish the run and actually just ball controlling it, getting points out of it. I think that at that point, if you keep giving them the ball and those opportunities against this team, I think they'll be all right.
That being said, your prediction of over, you're going to give me a score in a second, but your prediction of over also tells me you think BTJ is going to get at least 1 big touchdown.
Actually, I think Christian Kirk's going to show out. Ooh. I think he's going to. I think he's going to bounce back.
Okay.
I think it was not the game. It was not the game for the veteran receiver. And I think he's going to show y'all what his name is. That's all.
Okay. You think Kirk's going to be the captain here? I get you. Okay.
I think my guy's going to show y'all why he's my guy. That's all.
All right.
So yeah, I'm going with 30-10. I'm thinking it's going to be close. I'm thinking the Jaguars are going to dominate.
Okay. Listen, I'd love to see it. As you see, I'm the pessimist in the room this week. This ish happens, folks. It is what it is. Travis Holmes, tell the world, man.
Yeah, it can be found. All the socials, Travis D. Holmes, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Instagram. You can find my writings covering the Jaguars, bigcatcountry.com. Again, take a look at the last week article, the post-game recap, but also 20 takeaways from the rewatch of the game. That's been getting a lot of conversation even up to this morning, which is crazy to me. I love that you guys are, football junkies. Keep it up. I love this addiction. I'm supporting y'all for that addiction. But yeah,
the addiction. That's what you're doing. And
yes. I am the biggest enabler of. If you guys want to get high on Jaguars, I'm here for it, bro. Come on. Come to my house.
Travis D. Holmes, he will be your dealer. That's right.
I got some candy for you. Yes, Lord. But no, where can you be found, my son? My guy.
Well, Travis continues to be my brother's keeper. I thought that reference was appropriate here with what we were doing with the analogy.
Yeah, put it, slide in your hand like your grandma giving you money. Yeah.
Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, a student of the game. You can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with Fans First Sports Network, and also check out the podcast. If you don't get the live version, Fans First Sports Network powers that. Just go to the Duval Dive feed on iTunes podcast or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. Of course, you can check out my work covering UCF with the Black and Gold Banneret. I will be hosting the Night Shift live post game after UCF heads to TCU to do battle in their first Big 12 game. So make sure you check that out. Saturday night, Black and Gold Banner YouTube channel. Also, in a couple hours from now, I will be doing the Student of the Game podcast. So I'll go around the entire NFL and college football world. And I won't talk about this game quite as much, but I'll definitely touch on that too and do some picks. I don't have a guest this week, so it's just you and me, America. We're going to have some fun with it. And make sure you check all of that out as well. Also, after the game, after Travis and I do the Duval Dive live for week 2, make sure you check out my new debut feature every week you're going to get on the Fans for Sports Network website there for the Jags. The good, the bad, and the spotty. That's what we're going to do right there. So make sure you check that out. My analysis of what well, what didn't, and what could have been confusing that people aren't talking enough about yet in the football game. Good, the bad, and the spotty. Make sure you check that out next week all the way around. So, for my good friend, oh wait, I gotta give Robert some love here. Nielsen's licking his chops. Yeah, we touched on that some already, but we'll give you your acknowledgement, Robert. You're 100% correct. So, for my friend Travis D. Holmes, Big Cat Country, thanks to Mike Clinton and Robert for jumping in the comments, and of course, for me, Kyle Nash, the student of the game, an honor, joy, and privilege to do this with you again. We'll see you Sunday after the game. And until then, class dismissed.